The Localize control is only ever used to localize your pages. That is, to automatically populate them with text for different languages. The Localize control is functionally identical to the literal control. The only reason that a separate control exists is to emphasize that it is being used to localize the page. To begin this lesson, open the Forest Walks project from your Sample Files folder. And open dreamfalls.aspx in Source View. Now add a Localize control to the page just before the End ASP Content tag. You'll find the Localize control in the Standard category of the toolbox. Now set the ID property of the new Localize control to Localize Description. Next, you're going to set the text property of the Localize control to automatically retrieve the Dreamfalls resource from the resources files. Set the text property with the following code: text equals less than $, resources, web resources, Dreamfalls. This code tells the Localize control to retrieve the Dreamfalls resource from the web resources file. Note that this will recognize both the web resources.resx file and the web resources.fr.resx file. You created both of these in Lesson 7.12. ASP.NET will automatically select the correct file for the page's language. View dreamfalls.aspx in your web browser now, and you can see that the value from webresources.resx is being displayed, as the page is not using the French language. Note that if your computer is set to use the French language, you may see the French text immediately, as it will be your computer's default language. Notice the flags in the top right corner. When they are clicked, these buttons set a value in Session Language. You will use this value to set the language when the page loads. Close your web browser now, and open the code behind file of dreamfalls.aspx. Now add the following new event handler to set the language of the page: protected, override, void, initialize culture, if session language equals null, page.ui culture equals en-us, else if session language dot toString equals fr, page.ui culture equals fr-fr, else page.ui culture equals en-us, base.initialize culture. This code uses the override keyword to replace the system.web.ui.page class's default initialize culture event handler with your own code. You learned about the override keyword in Lesson 5.4. The initialize culture event is used to set the page's culture or language. It occurs before the page load event, so setting the culture in the page load event handler would be too late for it to affect the page. In this lesson, you have overridden the initialize culture method, replacing the original initialize culture method with a method that changes the page.ui culture property. If this was all that you did, your language settings would not be applied to the page. In order to apply the correct language to the page, the original, unaltered initialize culture method must run after your overridden version of the initialize culture method. To call the original method, you call the base.initialize culture method at the end of your overridden method. This allows both methods to run sequentially. Test your code now by viewing dreamfalls.aspx in your web browser. Now click the French flag in the top right corner, and you can see that the French text is displayed on the page. Click the American flag now, and the English text is displayed again. Close your web browser now, and close Visual Studio. You've now completed Lesson 7.13. Use the Localize control.